Hey, and welcome to the Dangerous Creatives podcast. If you're growing your photography or creative business, you're in the right place. Each week, we deliver a workshop-style solo show, expert interview, or motivating story from our community so you can tune in to find encouragement, motivation, and ideas to help the right people find you and your amazing work. I'm your host, Kristen Sweeting. I'm a photographer and coach, and my favorite thing is helping dangerous creatives just like you stand out in a world that just wants us to blend in. I'm glad you're here. Let's dive in. Hey, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Dangerous Creatives podcast. I'm so excited. This is a coaching episode, which if you've listened for a while, you know every once in a while we do coaching episodes where a creative hops on and we workshop something in their business and we talk through a problem or we look at pricing. And so you can hear live how someone is working through problems in their business. This has been a super fun aspect of this podcast. And we've had people go away from the coaching call and make big changes, book the biggest package of their career. We've had people build new offers and launch them. We've had people totally change how they approach their sales process, their pricing. So I just think this is a really important part of the podcast because this is a community that we're building and we want the whole community to be thriving. And so it's just cool that we get to have people hop on who are running awesome businesses and get encouraged to feel like they can talk through something that's going on. So today, Jes is hopping on to be coached. She is a wedding planner and has experience working with venues in Colorado. And she has built a really cool business where she is doing consulting, not only for couples, but also for other wedding vendors. And we talked today about the vendor coaching side of what she's doing. She does consulting for venues and for wedding vendors. And so we really got to dive into her offers, her financial goals, her pricing, and we spent a lot of time talking through why and how we price offers like this. And so I hope you enjoy the episode, even if you're not a coach, even if you're not a wedding planner. I think you'll get a lot of value out of it, just how we kind of like worked through this together. And Jes was just so lovely. So definitely go and check out her consulting and the way that she is helping people grow their business in a different way to allow a little bit more freedom, especially if you've been in the wedding industry for a long time. It's super cool what she's up to. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks for tuning in. Well, hello, and welcome back to the Dangerous Creatives podcast. I'm your host, Kristen Sweeting, and I'm so excited today to have Jes Barkman on. We are going to have a little coaching conversation around some of the businesses that she is building. Jes, I'm so excited to hear more about what you are up to and for you to share a little bit more about yourself with our audience.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been a long time since I've been on this side of coaching, and it's both exciting and invigorating, and like I said, a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, okay, so tell us what you do and how your career is kind of moving and changing right now, where you're kind of heading, all of that kind of stuff.
After 10 years in the industry, I am a virtual wedding consultant for couples planning weddings all over the state of Colorado. I also run a micro wedding venue in a super small town called Ouray. And I am a wedding business coach with a focus on helping moms jump into this industry or stay in this industry after they've had kids in a brand new way.
I love it. So were you you're a wedding planner first or wedding venue owner? Like what all perspective did you come in before this version of your business?
So I got started in the wedding industry by working at one of the busiest wedding venues in Colorado, and I owe so much of not only where I'm at, but who I am at this point to that venue. They do 400 events a year. So when I
Oh my
say
gosh.
craft course, I mean, I did thousands of weddings within just my first couple of years. I started as an entry-level salesperson and quickly worked up to sales and marketing director. After that, I followed my heart, moved to the mountains where I started my own business, not at events. I was a full-scale wedding planner, started my business in 2020. Lucky me. And that first year was really crazy, but definitely gave me a perspective on how I wanted to run my business in the future. the ways that I thought I could be successful and how, it was really important to be able to pivot. I think anyone who started their business in 2020 probably learned pivoting more than anybody else. And after that, really kind of was just moving and grooving for a while before deciding I wanted to start a family of my own. And as a wedding planner, I realized every single weekend of the summer how impossible that was going to be. And I still think that that would be impossible. I bow down to my friends who are moms, grinding every weekend at these weddings. I don't know how you do it. You're amazing. But that wasn't the course that I really wanted to go down. And so I started forging a new path to create virtual wedding consulting. Essentially, I can plan somebody's entire wedding within 2 hour and a half long phone calls for less than $1,000, which is something that hadn't been created in the market as far as I know at this point, certainly not in Colorado. And so with that, I'm planning to teach other people how to do this in the future because I believe everybody should be able to stay in this business because it is so amazing. And it's something that if you have grinded to get this far and you're still loving it, you deserve to stay in this industry. And so I want to create a way for people to do that.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so you were like, hey, the way that I want to be a mom is not lining up with the way that I'm currently running my wedding planning business. So let's evolve it. Let's do something different. And that's how you kind of built the consulting, coaching side. And has it done what you wanted it to do? Like, do you feel free? Do you feel good? Like, tell us.
Right. I think as a mom, you never feel balanced. That is a total myth. I don't know how people could say that, but I think that is certainly given me the opportunity to do that. This is a perfect example. Last week, actually, my son was in the emergency room overnight, and I didn't have to worry about client calls the next day. I didn't have to worry about a wedding over the weekend, which, as a wedding planner, I can't imagine stressing about that when I was in the emergency room thinking that my son was in serious danger.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that those two things could coexist for me. So, yes, I mean, in this sense, I have been successful.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, well, tell us, why did you sign up for this coaching call? What would you like to tackle together today?
I think that as even a business coach, everybody needs a coach in this. And when you're launching something new, those fraudy feelings come to the surface. And I can coach people all day, every day on how to combat those, but it's super hard to combat them yourself. It's also kind of hard to see your business from the outside. And as business owners, I think that you have to have a lot of confidence. And sometimes that confidence can cloud your judgment. So, some help on which areas to niche to and how niche to get. And then also some pricing reviewing would be great.
I love it. Yeah, I think it's so interesting because I have the same thing of like, even though I coach hundreds of people, like it still needs someone to mirror back to me what I do well, what my goals are. Am I lining up with what I say, Because I think it's so easy to accidentally find yourself in this position where what you're saying and what you're doing are not lining up, and you feel this tension of, okay, these aren't quite fitting like I wanted, or just like having someone else to brainstorm things through. So I am glad that you signed up. I'm excited for us to chat through things today and hopefully feel like some nice clear paths forward after this and some encouragement. So
Great.
all right, Jess, let's talk. So what are your current offers, and or who are you currently like? Tell me who you have been working with, how it's been going. Where have you had a client where you're like, this was excellent? I felt like I really helped them. I felt really good about it. Um, that was my first question. And so you're doing coaching for couples getting married, but you're also doing the consulting for other planners, vendors, venue owners. So you're doing the two things.
Yes. And I think today, just so that we're not all over the place, let's focus on the business coaching of other wedding pros for sure,
Okay,
which is certainly where my passion lies right now.
great.
And really fueling me. So, as far as who I've been working with, primarily up until this point, I've been working with venue owners, which obviously I have a huge background in. I have been coaching with wedding planners, some photographers. I had a DJ a couple of weeks ago, a videographer, but most of my clients have been planners and venues because, of course, those are the biggest things that I can speak to from personal experience. And the two people that I think of right now that have been like my all-star coaching students, which if you're hearing this and you're one of my students, you're all amazing and I love you all. These two just like, I mean, have taken everything I said and put it into fruition.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
one of them is this venue. It's called Pikes Peak Ranch. It's in Woodland Park, Colorado, with a beautiful view of Pikes Peak. Um, they took their venue literally from nothing, dirt and some cabins, to a thriving wedding business. And we helped design the wedding venue together. We helped do contracts, the works. And like I said, they've just taken that and nailed every single aspect of it. And then a local wedding planner to me, she works in Telluride, Hannah Kemp from Kemp & Co. Same thing. Her business is amazing. She's moving into the luxury scene. I'm so proud of both of them.
That's amazing. Okay, what about those experiences? Is it just that they were so quick to take action? Was there some kind of personal connection that made it better? Was there a skill that you were getting to use that made it feel like, oh, this is like I'm really great at operations or I'm really great at sales? Like, what kind of stuck out about your interaction with them that made those so important?
I think it's super important to note that I am not a great business coach for everybody. I am very upfront. There's not a lot of fluff. And so I think that the people who are most successful with me aren't looking for that and don't need the padding. And that is something that both of those clients, I mean, they were clear with me like, we don't want to waste any time. I'm paying you for your time. And so let's just go. Let's go. And I mean, make big moves immediately, which as a business coach, like it fuels you so much and you can pour so much more into it when people are actually putting the steps that you're giving them into action.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you probably felt like you could be more direct and honest with them saying that to you and not like try to go in the back door with your advice, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Yes. I guess to continue that, sales is really what I'm good at. That's where I got my start. And so being able to tell them, like, here's how you should really mold your sales process from start to finish. Here's how you should make connections within this industry to boost your sales. All of those things have really made a difference for those clients.
That's awesome. Okay. So when you're thinking about your pricing and you're thinking about the offers, like where do you feel like you get stuck? Are you hitting your own personal financial goals? Where are you hoping to get bigger and bigger clients? Do you feel like you're underpricing? Like what's kind of the pain point for you?
So, I'm really uncertain about my pricing, and it's easy to compare myself to other wedding coaches out there. And I think that I am maybe on the lower side, but this is also something that I'm newer to. I started coaching and getting paid for it a year ago, even though I've been doing this for probably 5 or 6 years, just for my friends along the way. And so for venues, which is very different pricing than vendor coaching, I'm charging $12.50 a month with a 3-month minimum that includes 2 phone calls and ongoing support over the month. And then for single calls, which are 90 minutes, 375. On the vendor side of things, you're going to notice very, very different pricing because it takes a very, very different skill set and there's a lot less risk involved. 1 month retainer is $500, same thing, 2 phone calls and then ongoing support throughout the month. And then a single call is $250.
Okay. And how many clients have you worked with this point? Has it been hard for you to find clients? Are they coming in pretty naturally?
They've been coming in pretty naturally. I think that they've all been very organic. None of them have just found me online. And in part, that's because I haven't had the time to really broadcast this side of the business. But I want to hit a larger audience. And I would love to get more planners and venues in here that aren't just in Colorado and expand that reach.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, just with that, I know you're still newer to this, but just from a perspective of knowing other business coaching and also probably what wins you're helping them have, I would say we should rework it, you know.
Yeah,
Um
great.
like I think you're undercharging, so let's talk about it. How are you tracking your clients' wins like right now? And the ones you mentioned, do you have a financial number of your like they were making 30K a year and now they're making it 100? Like, do you have any of that data?
Some. A venue that I'm working for right now took this to a six-figure business in a span of 7 months. I need to be better at tracking wins. I think that I've
Yeah.
been so in it, in the coaching and supporting these people, that it hasn't been the focus. And you're right. I think that that's something that I definitely need to start doing.
Well, we'll come back to that because I think that there's a few different things like that that will help you feel really confident in the broadcasting to a greater audience, but also in like probably a pretty significant pricing jump. Because I think when we're consulting at this level or when we're working with a business where there's like a very tangible ROI, like we have to consider the value and not just like the how much is my time worth. It's part of it's almost like a like commission based, although it's not, but you have to think of like the work that I'm helping them do is creating this lifetime ROI of XYZ. And so I should make sure to value my time and my expertise at this because look what this is going to take them. So I think probably talking through creating a system for tracking that kind of data so that you're like, listen, 5 years out, this client of mine has already seen a return of $500,000 or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
I think that would be a big thing. And then I'm wondering, like, I know some of your venue consulting is right now it's 1-to-1 and it's monthly. Are you having people sign longer retainers or you're just saying like whatever, however long it takes?
3-month minimum.
Oh,
Otherwise,
that's right.
they can do a one-off call, but it's 90 minutes, no support before or after. It's 100% like, let's dive into your pricing structure or revamp your website or brochure.
Right. How long is it taking in general to have some of those wins? Like, do most people only do 3 months, or is it usually taking 6 or 7?
Oh, immediate. After even the first month, I think that these guys are seeing a return on investment.
That's awesome. Okay, but so by the end of 3 months, usually people are done working with you.
They usually call me back in a couple months after they've had time to implement everything, and then they're realizing they're ready for the next step.
Perfect.
At which
Okay.
point I do either a one-off call or another month.
Okay. So the amount of time is feeling good. The 3 months, like you're like, that's enough time to create the changes, to build the systems, and then to maybe come back later. Is that so that we don't need to change the 3 months?
Nope. I feel really
Okay.
good about that.
Perfect. And then with the VIP strategy intensives and the single coaching calls, do you have a lot of people doing those, or does the single coaching call kind of act as a sales call in a bit? Like, are they upgrading to the bigger consulting after?
They're usually just asking for additional single 90-minute calls when they're ready. In the past, I've seen this be people who, one, aren't ready to make the financial commitment, but also don't have the time commitment to make all of these changes really, really fast. And so they end up doing a lot more single calls, but not upgrading to that month-long retainer. I don't know if that made sense.
Yeah, I think it does. Like they're kind of just piecing it together as they go. How does that feel for you?
It feels good. I think that everybody needs help at their own pace. I prefer movers and shakers because that's the way I want to work, but not everybody can do that. And they can only move sometimes as fast as their builder or whatever else. So
Yeah, for sure. Okay. And then on the vendor side, how is that feeling? So we have single 90-minute call for 250, 1 month retainer for 500.
it feels good. It feels, I mean, I can pack so much value into a single call that I feel like that is something that, I mean, they're getting such a big win from that. And I think that immediately needs to go up. As far as the month-long retainer, I really do love that. And I do think that the amount of time is great. Some people need a month, some people need 3 when it comes to vendors. I have a harder time doing very many of those because I find other vendor types need a lot more support.
Okay. So it's more work than the venues.
It's not more work, it's more communication.
Great. And before we kind of dig into some suggestions of where I think pricing could go, I'm curious for you and your goals and your family, like, have you mapped out what would feel good for you? You're like, if I was working with 3 venues at a time or 1 venue at a time for 3 months, but I had 4 during the year, like, have you been able to map out a little bit of a schedule for you so that your business is still delivering for you what you want it to?
Yeah, I think that I can handle 1 retainer venue at a time, and 2 vendor clients at a time, whether that is single calls or month-long retainers, but anything beyond that is too much, and I'm depleted from that.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to pull up my handy dandy calculator.
We are the same.
Yeah. We're going to actually look at this from your perspective. And just, anytime we're looking at something, like, I love everything that you're saying about how much you're helping your clients. You feel so fulfilled working with them. You're delivering great value. They're seeing returns. Like, all of that is excellent. I think a lot of times where we, especially people who are like service-minded creatives or service-minded businesses, where we sometimes miss is like, is this also serving me to the level I need it to? And like, if I am giving so much of my energy, my support, my time, my knowledge, is it also feeding me at the same level that it's feeding my clients? I think there's like such a nice energetic to that of like, I'm being compensated, you're seeing wins, I'm giving my emotional support, you're feeling supported. And when it's off balance, that's like the road to burnout. It's the road to feeling resentful. It's, and it's so easy to get there. So I love that we're talking about this. Okay. So tell me one more time.
Yep.
1 retainer venue.
$12.50 a month.
Okay. And you said that like 1 at a time feels good to you.
Yes.
Right? Okay. 1250. And then how many vendors?
2.
And that's at the 500.
500 a month. Yep.
And then any of the other like single 90-minute calls, like, can those scatter in, or?
I could do probably 2 more of those a month at 250.
Okay, great. So plus another 500. Okay. So this has us at 2750 a month, which is awesome, but is it what you need?
It's not what I need by itself, but I also function in this other setting. And so it has felt okay in the past, but I certainly want it to go up. We all want to make more money.
Yeah. Okay, great. No, I love that answer. I also love to think about, like, even if we have other income streams or we have another business, I still like to look at the one business as like, can this be self-sustainable? Like, could this pay my bills, hit my goals, whatever? And so even if we're not quite there yet,
Yeah.
like, working towards it, I think is good, because we all want to make more money, but ideally, like, either side of our business could sustain us at some point. So I always think it's like good to kind of have that as a goal.
Yeah, I love that.
So, I mean, I feel like even a first goal could be getting closer to 5,000 a month. How does that feel?
Sounds great.
You're like, let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to always balance like personal goals and other things like that too. And I also want to just think through the lifetime value of what you're delivering to a client. So give a couple examples of like, I know we need a system for tracking data, but can you think of a client, the one who was starting with barely anything and then built it to six figures? Are there other examples of people you've worked with that have done something similar?
I don't have the numbers, the exact numbers to it. I have an idea. Um,
Okay.
I mean, even if a wedding planner brings in a single additional client, that's anywhere from $3,500 to $10,000 in addition. That's one additional client. So if I change the way they're doing their sales structure or how they handle an incoming call, and they get that, that's immediate ROI.
Yeah, totally, totally. A lot of times with some of my coaching programs, I do price it based on that. Like I feel very confident, for example, in helping someone book a wedding at a certain price level. And so I have felt really good, like with my integrity, with my energy, whatever. I felt really good about pricing my coaching at that number.
Okay.
Because I'm like, if I can help them get one more client at that number, that to me feels like a fair investment because they're going to continue to go and book more of that client that's going to go up, and over 5 years even, you're potentially talking hundreds of thousands of dollars that one change made them, So I think we can't look at it quite so granularly and have to kind of see the bigger picture too.
Okay.
So I mean, I think with your vendor pricing, I might wonder if have you ever done a group program or something that like you could have more of a retainer system to that?
I have been thinking about doing a group program. Just at the stage I've been in motherhood, it hasn't been possible, but that's something that is very much so on my mind right now. And I'm finally having the time and resources to be able to do that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Um, yeah, when you say like motherhood hasn't allowed, is it feeling like it would be a lot more on your plate or more structured? Like which piece of it has felt tricky?
I just haven't had the time to give to it, and honestly, the energy when you're
Yeah.
sleeping only a couple hours a night. Having that extra energy to do a group program, I think that it does take extra energy. Just hasn't been there, and now I'm
Yeah.
finally seeing that point in motherhood where I think that that's possible for me, and something that would really fuel me as well.
How old is your daughter?
My son is actually
Oh,
16.
son. Sorry.
No problem. 16 months.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
Yes. So he's just past the non-sleeping stage. I hope.
I feel like I felt like everything got so much better after two, just on the sleep because I'm very sensitive to not sleeping. And I just remember being like, I've every step of the way have loved motherhood, but when I wasn't sleeping, I was not my best self. I'll just be honest.
100%. I shouldn't be driving, is how I felt. Like,
Yeah.
I couldn't go to the grocery store before my son was a year old.
Oh my gosh. I used to joke that I should have a sticker, like a warning label on my car because I was like, people need to know, like, don't F around with me right now, like I am not well.
Just have not slept.
Yeah, like have not slept. Please give me a wide berth. Kind of like the I'm a new driver, like have extra patience for me. I wanted to be like, new mom hasn't slept, please avoid.
Everyone would respect that sticker.
I might do it. If I have a kid again, I'll just be like, stay clear, please.
This is a plug for the new sticker that's about to go live.
Yeah. It's gonna be in our merch store. JK. Outsourcing parts of my editing process has been one of the best things I've done in my almost 18 years of running a photography business. It's let me free up time to start other side projects like this podcast and also helps me stay consistent with delivery times, keep my client experience excellent, and even add value while maintaining a high level of quality. One of our podcast sponsors, Imagine AI, has taken it up another notch. Even while I was traveling this last month, I was able to edit my digital work so fast because I had trained Imagine on my editing style. So, no more sitting at home and editing while my family is out doing fun things, exploring the city. I get to be there with them because I've really freed up so much more time. I can do my base edit through Imagine and then go in for finer details and make everything look exactly how I want it to be, mix in my film images, etc. It's really given me so much of my life back. So make sure you check out imagineai.com/podcast to get 1,500 free edits or click the link in the show notes. Okay. So, I think with the vendor coaching, that one feels like it's set up really nicely for some kind of group program. And a lot of times I encourage my coaching clients who are coaches to go that way because it's one offer. You know you can deliver a result in the amount of time that you have. There's the built-in accountability of the group. And the more and more clients you add to your roster, the more you'll notice that you're repeating the same thing over and over to each client, and you're kind of forgetting, like, do I say this to this client or this client? And there's definitely like a core messaging that you could then say to the full group and then build in something so that you're diving individually into different people's problems, so like a certain number of one-on-one calls or a certain way that you set up hot seats or something like that. So I think designing a group program for your vendors would be really nice. And just an encouragement too, like, I think it's sometimes a natural reaction to build something that's like so heavy and full of stuff that then you're just like drowning in the amount of coaching that you're delivering. And I actually think it's good for you and your students to build a spacious program. So, like, whether that's a monthly group call or a bi-monthly group call and then one-on-one calls once a quarter or something like that, you really can make it to where it's not such it doesn't feel like it's just consuming your whole life, but you're also delivering really great value, really great community, having that personal one-on-one time, and you're doing something that's like really impacting your clients.
Yeah. Great point. I've definitely gotten the most from those type of sessions.
I love that. And then I think with the venues, like I love the 3-month retainer. I think you probably could have a longer retainer offer as well, but I mean, I would double the price.
Okay. Done.
Yeah. Cause to me, I'm like, even thinking in 3 months, like 10 grand for 3 months feels like not enough sometimes, So
Mm-hmm.
I might use that more as like the goal of getting towards 10 grand for 3 months. I think it's going to make people be really serious about working with you. I think you already have the results to point to that level of value.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to let you maintain the low number of clients that you want so you can give really good personal attention to each client.
I love that. For sure. I think when I have had the time to work with these people one-on-one for that span of 3 months, they've seen major results. And at the end of 3 months, I feel really good about where they're at for right now. I think at the point of my life and where I'm at professionally right now, I can't see going longer than 3 months, but in the future, I certainly could.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, with what you're trying to do, it sounds like working on sales systems, potentially working on some operations, that kind of consult, like some design stuff. It is more of those quick wins. At some point in your future, you might love coaching and consulting their team or helping them with the hiring process or things that are going to take more time. But I think that's really good to know that, like, at this point you feel really great at that kind of entry, that not the entry stage, but like the launch point or the relaunch or the rebrand, and that feels like your sweet spot. I think that's great.
But I, like you're saying, I think in the future, growing into that for sure. It's hard to commit when I don't know, you know, what my life realistically is after a 3 month period right now, or, what my balance of life looks like.
Yeah, yeah. I've found that there's seasons where I enjoy having more of a retainer based thing where I have people working with me longer. And there's seasons where I'm like, I don't want to book you less than a month in advance. Like, I don't want, I don't want you to book a 2027 project. I don't know if I'm going to still be alive, who knows, So I get that. There's been seasons where it's felt really good and seasons where it hasn't. So, um, okay. So with the 3 month, I do think a price jump. Let's talk through like how to track some data so that you feel really good in that. And then maybe do you have like a quick outline of what you always try to hit with each client, or are you really tailoring it specifically to each venue?
I have an outline. It certainly is tailored from that outline and where they're at in that process. If somebody's coming to me and they literally have a dirt property, or they even want me to help them decide if it's going to be a fruitful business with them, for them on a dirt property, that's very, very different than somebody who is an existing venue taking brides and wants to step up to the next level.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, even like as you're continuing to build the curriculum that you're teaching, sometimes having specific frameworks to point to can be helpful in your sales process. It can point to something that you're going to be able to help them with. So, I mean, that might be two different paths of like the zero to something startup plan, or then also the mid-tier to luxury plan. So maybe you have two different paths, and then you have a little bit of just like some frameworks that you're working towards, some different resources. And what's nice about working one-on-one is you work with one venue, issue comes up, you can build something to help them, and then that kind of becomes part of your framework in the future.
Mhm.
So like we have a couple different spreadsheets that we work through with clients, or we have a couple different, worksheet kind of things. And each one was designed for one client at one point. It was like this issue came up, I designed this thing. Now it's a normal part of my framework when I'm coaching people is we pull up this pricing spreadsheet and we figure out what's going to make you profitable, and we figure out what your financial goals are, and we work backwards. And so that's like a cool thing in this time frame too, is with each new client you can be like, I'm going to find one thing to add to my book of business here, that's going to support this client.
Certainly. Lots of templates on the backside of all of this, which end up really useful for the vendor side too. When I'm creating them for venues, then I can show them and say, look, this is what a vendor or a venue is looking for from you as a photographer or a wedding planner, so on and so forth.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Okay, so yeah, I definitely think getting closer to the 10,000 for the venue consulting is probably going to feel a lot better. And then for the vendors, building a group program. What do you want to talk through, kind of designing what that group program might look like?
I would love that. Yes.
Okay. Have you been in some in the past? Like, have you been in any masterminds or group coaching programs?
I've been in a couple, and like you said, doing one where it's not so compact, like once a week phone call, never going to work for me.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more on that.
Okay, great. What does feel good?
Mm, maybe every 3 weeks or even every 2 weeks seems very compact. Like maybe once a month is the right answer.
Yeah, yeah. Because what other element would be important for you to build in? Like, do you enjoy in-person stuff? Do you feel like you need like, because I think with designing a program, you have what's going to deliver the result for your client, but you also have what's going to make me feel good as a coach, like effective as a coach. Like the times I burned out is when I didn't feel effective. And that was because I didn't have a data system tracking people's wins. So I didn't know if I was effective. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like you need the system, and then you need like I need one-on-one calls built in to my process so that I can track data. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I definitely think one-on-one calls would be a huge component for me. I need the interpersonal connection for my own self, but also the validation of like, oh my God, at the end of every single phone call, if somebody doesn't say, oh my God, that was amazing, thank you so much, I feel like I completely failed. And
Yeah,
that's what I need to thrive.
for sure. For sure. I think that is necessary for most coaches because, yeah, I mean, especially if you care about it. I feel like the people that don't care about their students as much are like, whatever. But to me, I'm like, I need to know that they are all progressing. I need to know that they're feeling encouraged, you know? Okay, so what about a monthly group call and a every other month one-on-one call? And maybe it's like a 5-month program.
I think that sounds great. I almost think we could bump up the one-on-one phone call.
Like to more one-on-ones or
Mhm.
less?
More one-on-ones.
Okay. What would like a monthly one-on-one and a monthly group call?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah. Um, do you think that like do you think that they need a monthly one-on-one call or is that more for your own nervous system?
I think that they need one as kind of like a check-in and the extra push. I think when you're in the group setting, yeah, you have a lot of people being there to support you and say, yay, you did it. We're all in this together. But when it's your coach who is the one talking to you on the phone, checking in to say, what's your progress? If you don't have the homework completed at that point, it's a lot harder to hop on that call.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I agree with you. I also my challenge to it is there can be some other ways to build in that same kind of check-in that maybe doesn't require a full hour call or a half an hour call. Like it could be like a voice memo app, like some kind of messaging app where you check in with people a couple every other week or something. It could be a spreadsheet that you're asking them to keep updated and then you're texting them to check in. There could be assignments with due dates on them and some kind of, reward system, some kind of something that is going to keep people motivated. Because
Yeah.
I agree with you. The thing you're trying to solve for is motivation, accountability, people feeling supported. And all of us are really busy, including your students and clients. And so, overloading with coaching calls isn't always the answer, but having something that's like, on this day, I'm going to check in. I expect your spreadsheet to be filled out. I expect this to be all set. And then I'm going to check in with you about it.
Yeah. Okay.
It doesn't mean you can't do the one-on-one call. It's just like if you decided to not do 5 one-on-one calls, but you did 3 instead, it could be the same thing where you just have the little built-in check-ins in the middle of those 3 calls.
Totally. I really like the idea of like the every other week Voxer message or something of that nature.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, and having something that people are staying accountable with you too as well, either a shared note, a shared something that can like help with the like bridge the gap in between the calls.
Okay. I agree. Bi-monthly it
Awesome.
is.
5 months. I love it. Bi-monthly. Awesome. And how do you feel about being able to like market or sell something like that? Do you want to talk through any of that?
I would love to, all aspects of it. First of all, what do you think we should price this at?
How many people could you manage to have in there?
I think to be productive, it would need to be like 7 to 10.
Okay. Let's say 8. And what would be like if you were to say something kind of like how I price mine as well. If you were to be like if you book one more client, it's this amount of value. What would that number be for your clients? Like do you have a sweet spot that you love helping clients with?
Do you think that this group program would have to be for a specific vendor type, or do you think that it could just be for wedding vendors in general?
Well, what's your goal for them at the end? What's your transformation goal for the group?
I think the transformation goal would be, booking more brides who are your ideal client, which in Colorado is routinely, high mountain, even if they're not luxury, but just like high mountain weddings. Um, and I certainly think that that would mostly be photographers and planners, videographers, maybe I think that those would mesh really well.
Yeah. What would be a average booking for the person in that range in Colorado?
Anywhere from 3,500 to 8,000 for probably where they're at if they're interested in this.
Yeah. Okay. So what about somewhere right in the middle, like 5 or 6,000?
Okay.
And for you, say let's just say 5,000, 8 people, 8,000 a month. So that would surpass kind of the goal that we set of like a $5,000 month.
Yeah.
And then, and it gives you flexibility if you had a smaller group to still feel good about a smaller group or a bigger group. I feel like that would be a great zone to be in because you can really point to, helping people book that one more wedding. Obviously I think it's easy for coaches to overpromise, underdeliver. I think you can say like, our goal is to help you book one more at this rate or one more of your highest package or something like that. And you're like, obviously most people go above and beyond that, but like for now we're just going to focus on the one more and then that will continue to grow, that kind of thing.
Okay. If we're going to price that at 8,000 a month, we certainly need to boost that other pricing for vendors up.
No. We were pricing it at 5,000 for the whole program, and that would be for you 8,000 a month.
Okay. I was like,
yeah. No. Yeah, 5,000 for the program, and if you had 8 people, that's 40,000.
Wonderful. Okay, that makes more sense. I was like, this seems like a reach.
Yeah, no, I think 5 is a good place for now. I think the trick with a group program is like you're probably wanting to speak to someone who already is running a pretty successful business. They're just wanting that next level. So at that 5,000 price point, it's not someone who has 0 clients who's jumping in wanting to build their business. And most likely it's probably someone who has a really established business but is ready for the next jump or is consistently struggling with their sales. And they're like, I want to learn this skill, And I think just for like integrity with coaches and stuff too, like I do try to focus on the skills that they're learning and not just the results. Like you obviously have the results, but you're also like, you are going to learn sales, like my sales process, my signature sales process. You're going to learn this marketing strategy. You're going to learn, so there's like, I'm going to teach you how to manage your money and so you have things that people are learning too, and not just like, make me money fast, Jess, which is, even if you feel confident in your ability to do that, I still think like focusing on the skills is really important.
In the people component of like you are intermingling, you're going to leave this with connections.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so there's a whole lot of value that comes from having it be part of a group. You have the networking connections, you have the collaboration with your peers, you have the coaching element, you have the new skills. So I think all of that's really valuable.
Okay. Love it. Launching next week.
Awesome. Well, I know we like tried to tackle a lot today. Do you feel good about some of the pricing stuff that we talked through?
I feel a lot better about it. I think, like I said from the get-go, it takes somebody else seeing it to say, no, this is too low. I say that to people all day, every day, but it's so hard when the self-doubt is always there at the same time you're trying to select a price.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, I get that. I think like, especially when you're like, I've only been coaching for a year, which yes is true. But remember the 10 years of previous experience or the 5 years of previous experience. Remember the results that you have helped people achieve. Remember that people are coming to you naturally without you really marketing too much and are seeing value in what you do. And I feel like it takes for someone who is more of an open person, service oriented, I think it takes like 5 years to feel like, you know what, I'm really good at this. It's just you're putting in the reps and you're continuing to build the results. And so then there's a tipping point where you'll be like, I've been undercharging this whole time. But you kind of needed a little bit of that space to feel really confident about it.
Definitely. Thank you for pushing me on that. And I mean, providing the reasoning behind it. I needed that today. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Well, and like I said, always kind of cross-check anytime I'm feeling like, is this the right pricing? Do I need to raise? Do I need to lower? I do a cross-check on the value I'm providing with the tangible data. So I think setting up little stop points in your coaching or in your consulting where you're gathering the numbers at the beginning, you're setting the goal at the beginning, you're checking in along the way, you're asking for the numbers at the end of your time, and then you're asking for the numbers 6 months out from the time, because that is going to continue to build your own confidence in what you're delivering as well.
Okay. Great. I wish that I had known that before. The numbers
That's
that I
okay.
could see from that would be amazing.
You can go back to people. I mean, especially if you had a good relationship with certain people, you can go back. It definitely is easier at the beginning of working with someone because a lot of people don't actually track their own numbers very well either. And so you're helping them build their own system to be able to track their own progress too.
Okay. Love that for sure. It's interesting as a wedding planner in the past and a venue owner. I used to save all the thank you notes people would send me, and I had this giant board. I kept them all on. And when I was having a rough day or things were just feeling really tough, you question your why sometimes in this industry. I would read them, and that was kind of like my, okay, I got this. I am really good at this, even though this bad situation is happening. And when you don't have that same level of validation, people don't automatically send thank you cards for business coaching. You don't get to see the wedding at the end of the deal. You get a lot less validation. You get a good review, but what you're saying is that same thing.
Yeah, for sure. And I also think building your programs to be a little bit longer or to be a little, that the one-off coaching calls is going to be harder to get results from that. Like the result is that they feel better, they feel more clear at the end of it. You're not with them long enough to know what happens a year from then, And so I think your group program will be something that will be easier for you to track your data on. I think building it in with your consulting clients is going to be important.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like one of our jobs as coaches is to reflect back to people their wins and to so build that into your system. So like, for example, I have a mastermind that I've been doing for several years, and I have little stop points built in so that I know that they're growing, that they know that they're growing. And so I just did one of those check-in calls I'm doing all of the check-in calls this month. And I just did one yesterday, and she didn't even remember what the financial goal was that she had told me in January. And it's June and she already hit it. And so we both had this moment of like, this was your goal for the end of the year and you already hit it like beginning of June, And so we both got to have a moment of like, oh my gosh, that's incredible. And she got to have that moment. And then we could use that as a signpost of where do we want to go next? Do we want to push to a different goal? Do we want to enjoy the rest of the year and be like, I hit the goal. I'm going to just like peace out, and enjoy it. Not the peace out, but, just like take it a little bit more chill. Yeah. And so we got to have that conversation. And so I think that those things are really cool, and it's going to build in those opportunities for you to get the feedback.
Mm-hmm. Great idea. I'm going to immediately get off of this and restructure all of my coaching offerings, I feel like, to add that in. Even just the one-on-one calls of saying, where are you at right now? Certainly in the questionnaire, but going a little bit deeper into that.
Yeah, good. I love it. So for my own validation, has this been a helpful coaching call?
A wonderful coaching call from a business coach. This is exactly what I needed. So thank you so much.
Good. You're welcome. Well, thanks for being on. I can't wait to see what continues to happen in your business.
Thanks for your time, Kristen. I'll talk to you soon, I'm sure.
All right. Bye, Jess. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Dangerous Creatives podcast. Check out dangerschool.com to join our community and support the show. Thanks to our team, Jen Madigan Creative, for producing, and to Fire Choir for our intro music. Tune in again next time, and thanks for your support.